Hello and welcome to the Idiot Book Nook. My name is Blazewing and my pronouns are they, them.
My name's Lady Punnett. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today is a she, they kind of day.
And I'm Kittershy. My pronouns are mostly she, her, sometimes they, them. Today's are her day.
Oh, hold on. I think I screwed that up. I think I was muted for that. Uh,
Oops.
Intro.
Yeah.
We're getting into chapter 6 of the Vampire Jack Townson's book, Fame Has Its Price. Chapter 6, titled The Devil and I. But before we do that, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook, where you'll be able to find links to our podcast, to our YouTube, to our Twitch, and all of our individual projects on the net, and you'll be able to follow along and see what we're doing there. And we have some housekeeping to take care of, as always, with this book, because Jack has included some trigger warnings, and there are trigger warnings in general for this book that need to be given out. So I'm going to get into those, and then
Oh,
we're going
shush.
to get rolling. Before you enjoy your reading experience of The Vampire Jack Townson Fame Has Its Price, please be aware of the following trigger warnings: rape, moments of discrimination, graphic violence, and grooming. Quote, as someone who has had their power taken from them, I believe in the importance of consent in all things. However, to shy away from these topics is not to make them go away, but to be blind to them. Once again, thank you to our author for putting that in. And we are going to get started with Chapter 6 of Fame Has Its Price by the Vampire Jack Townson, The Devil and I. With our fingers entwined, Alexander Lamont pulled me away from the office door and down the corridor I was not allowed to enter earlier that night. The broad man at the bar warned me that if I trespassed, I would have to answer to security. This time, Alexander and I both rushed through it with haste. Double doors revealed an impossible space hidden away at the back of the building. This was no doubt his room. The space was opulent and baroque. Everything was polished and crisp. It didn't seem all too lived in. It was a massive bedroom, the walls alight with old Gothic fixtures. A king bed sat flush against the back wall. Drapes lined in velvet bubbled down the frame and to the floor. The space was sumptuous. A familiar mural stretched across the ceiling, one that I recognized from my Catholic upbringing. Art of the winged Lucifer, the fallen angel, was splayed across the makeshift sky in gorgeous detail, those furious tears forever welling within his eyes. Breathtaking, I murmured. It was all I could say before Alexander spun me towards the balcony to our left, out another set of double doors and through more silk curtains. The view overlooked most of the Upper East Side and Central Park. It was something I had never seen before, the lights of Manhattan glimmering impossibly like a sea of fallen stars. At this time of night, if we'd been anywhere else in the world, the streets would be quiet and the citizens would be slumbering, but not here. Never here. Give me 1 sec. I'm just going to close the window. My apologies. But not here. Never here. Onto the landing we danced, Alexander's blonde hair bouncing as he brought me closer to the railing, edging dangerously near a fatal fall. All it would take was a wrong step or a playful push to seal our fates.
Jack, I have something to tell you. Oh, I have to tell you something.
He began softly.
I have not been entirely truthful. You see, there is something more I need to show you.
His voice was barely a whisper, his eyes falling to the stone beneath us. I couldn't imagine what he was about to divulge. My thoughts wheeled over possibilities like the Mafia, or perhaps he was something of a Russian spy. My pulse thumped violently in my chest, the anticipation making my sternum ache. Alexander? I matched his thoughtful tone, placing my hand over his on the railing. Whatever it is, I'm here. I'm not leaving. You've shown me so much magic in a single night. How much more unbelievable could this possibly get? He smirked darkly, as if some great secret lived there beyond his violet stare.
Don't be afraid. Close your eyes.
He instructed, and so I did. I heard the slight shuffle of heeled shoes and the metallic tapping that followed. The railing vibrated under my hands, and fear was the very thing that forced my eyes open. Alexander! There he stood upon the metal bar, the wind whipping about his ethereal hair, and the dark mesh of his shirt. Reached for him in my panic. Are you insane? Get down from there! My stomach lurched, my fingertips splayed as I tried to grasp the hem of his pants, and then I failed. My gut shot up to the roof of my mouth as I watched Alexander Lamont spiral off the edge and down, down, down. His screaming voice vanished as so too did his body. Holy shit! I shrieked. He killed himself! He fucking killed himself! What the fuck? But before I could spiral any further and get sick all over the balcony floor, the most peculiar thing happened. A voice, a tiny whisper of a thing, beckoned to me.
Jack? Jack, look down.
His voice called me from the side of the building. It was impossible. He was surely dead. This must have been some sort of trick. Was I losing my mind from the trauma of watching this man splatter on the pavement far below? Wait, did I actually see him hit the pavement? I leaned over the railing, my raven curls interrupting my view of the streets below, as wind swirled them about my face. And there he was, standing on the wall, staring up at me, feet pressed against the brick, and completely disregarding gravity, was my mentor. He stood there as effortlessly as some arachnid-themed superhero, the lights of the city shining behind his head, creating an almost angelic halo about his blonde curls. The world spun rapidly as I white-knuckled the banister. What was happening? Perhaps it was still the absinthe playing tricks on me. Yes, perhaps all of my drinks had been spiked that evening. There was no other way to explain it. This had to be the product of some intense hallucinogenic.
Mm. No,
Sorry,
you
guys. I'll be
weren't.
right back.
No, you weren't drugged.
1 second. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no worries. No, you weren't drugged.
He stated simply.
What you are seeing is very real, and I imagine very confusing. I had to show you. I needed you to believe me. There was no other way.
Alexander! I screamed, my eyes welling up with tears, watching them rain down over where he stood. Please come back. Please come back up. This is unnatural. He shook his head in protest.
No, no. How about you come down here?
He laughed, twirling in his spot with his arms outstretched to demonstrate he was not truly affected by Earth's gravitational pull. I hugged the railing, my hand gripping the metal bar tightly. His fear turned my blood to ice. No, I can't. He cried up at me.
You've been telling yourself no for so long. You've restricted yourself to a mediocre life when so much more awaits you. Stop living in fear. Release yourself. Be free. Come to me. Now.
His hand outstretched towards me. Lightning cracked overhead. I exhaled sharply, my fingers twitching in fear as I brought one leg over the ledge. I squeezed my eyes shut, focused on remembering how to breathe. Then came the other leg, until I stood on the dangerous side of that railing, gripping to the metal and what might have been the last moments of my life.
Jump, dear Jack.
He laughed. I can't, I'll fall. Terror gripped me to my core and reduced me to a little boy again. My heart lodged itself in my throat. The world beneath me spun in vicious circles as all the lights started to blur like watercolor. If I didn't step down, I would surely fall forward with the vertigo. Few options were left now.
I will catch you. I will keep you safe. If only you trust me.
Alexander promised over the rush of the wind, his smile flashing across his beautiful face. His velvet words coaxed me enough at last, and down the lip I went. For a moment, time froze, the city fixed in a place as my life flashed before my eyes. My mother, Bradley, Dad, Chloe, all happy and awash in sunlight. What if this was all truly a hallucination? What if I just hurled myself into my doom? Time resumed as I tumbled, arms flailing. The world about me smeared in violent color. Everything I had ever known was both literally and figuratively flipped upside down. At last, arms wrapped around my body, holding me in place. Alexander hardly moved as he caught me against his chest, with inhuman strength, his tight body acting like a bed for mine. He grinned up at me, our forms finally closing the distance that had plagued me all evening. I could feel my heartbeat slamming against him, yet his didn't respond. There was nothing there. What are you? He grinned, his lavender eyes sparkling as they beamed through the darkness into mine.
I am what rules the night, a master of the starlight, a fiend of flesh, both angel and demon as one. I am walking history, legend and myth, and you've known it in your heart all along.
His tongue was held steady with the weight of the truth. In the moment I saw those unnatural purple eyes, I knew there was no way this man could be human. All night it had been so clear, I had simply refused to see it.
Dance with me?
He boyishly mewed, his tone vibrating through my ribs as I hung on for dear life. Clinging to him, I buried my face in his chest and begged the question, how? Squeezing me tighter, he began to spin us upon the vertical surface, careful to keep me from falling, waltzing as we tempted fate and laughed at the gods who wished for us both to plummet to our demise. What are you, Alexander? I moaned into his chest as he danced me about, a rag doll in his embrace. He slowed into a gentle sway, focusing on my question. His response was soft and sultry.
It's simple. I am Vampire, Nosferatu, Strigoi.
I blinked up at him, confounded, though I knew it was true.
I am a vampire, and I've chosen you to waltz through eternity with me, never to be afraid again, never to feel the sting of embarrassment, never to know a life of failure previously so unavoidable.
A vampire, a beautiful monster, a divine paradox. It all made sense now. His charm, his grace, his style, the way he moved, talked, and tempted. He was the thing of the darkness, and there I was with him. He'd chosen me where every other human being in my life had tossed me aside. Alexander chose me. I was his. He walked me back up to the ledge, his hands clasped around my back, his impossible body moving mine like a lift. Both of his legs bent for a moment, and before I could make another sound, we were airborne. floating through space. Terror replaced elation. My eyes never left his. Back down to safety we traveled, the two of us gliding back to the balcony as if Alexander had been enchanted by pixie dust. As our feet touched down, more questions rifled through my brain. Show me, I begged. A large smile overtook Alexander's features, and I saw them. Twin fangs, clearly visible, their length impossible to miss, and yet somehow they hadn't captured my attention before this moment. He must have kept them hidden from me somehow. How? Am I going crazy? Tell me this isn't the absinthe. He smirked.
Darling, no. We utilize something called the glamour. Humans will never see us unless we choose to reveal ourselves. Most of the time, they can't see past their own noses. How would they perceive the fangs poised to strike at their throats just beyond their eyes?
I chuckled nervously at such a dark statement. I had been, like all others, just as oblivious, just as nearsighted. Never again. The horror had passed, and now there was a soft comfort in knowing I wasn't crazy. This was real. The famous Alexander Lamont was a vampire, and he was my vampire. Wait, I blurted. Does this mean you're going to make me like you? The query was met with a bubbling laughter that erupted from the base of his throat.
If you would like to be, it must be your decision, though, dear one. You must want this for yourself. I can't force it on you, my darling Jack.
What a concept. The end of my human life. The end of everything I knew. The end of my pain. To become beautiful and eternal like him. A soft, nostalgic sadness crawled up my spine and clutched my heart. My life, my family, everyone I had ever known making this choice would imprison them in my past. A feeling began to overtake me, the agony I kept hidden unraveling. You'll never leave me? Tears streamed down my face. I thought of my mother again, her lifeless eyes as she stared at me from her hospital bed. You'll never grow sickly and die? My breath caught in my throat, and my lip trembled. I was no less vulnerable than a child. Alexander's face grew soft and compassionate as he watched my wave of emotion take hold. He pushed my hair from my face.
No, Jack, I'm not like the ones you've loved and lost. You will have me for eternity, if you choose so.
In his arms I stared up at the taller man, my heart so full of love and foolish whimsy, my head spinning with the romance of it all, with the idea of never having to lose the man I was falling in love with. Yes, the word left my mouth, and my heart gave a great jolt at the finite sound of the word. Yes, Alexander, make me like you. I choose this. I choose you. In an instant he was upon me, his arms holding me tightly against his muscular form, blonde rivets wrapping in my inky coils. His lips pressed against my neck as my eyes fluttered shut. I could feel my arousal pushing against the material of my new pants. Make me like you? I whimpered. And this is actually where we're going to fade to black. One moment while I skip to the end of the chapter.
It gets a little heavy, so
Yeah,
there's some things that we can't talk about
this
here.
is
Yep.
But,
Stuff and things
yeah, this is
and
actually pretty spicy.
sound.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Woo!
Stuff and things and sounds and imagery.
There are things
Sign
in
me
this
up.
book. I'm just saying, like, if you're looking for spice, this is so far. This chapter is like a chapter for you. Yeah, it's a little too hot for Twitch. 1 second.
Ram, get.
And it goes
Meanwhile,
on and on
Grim
And
is
on.
trying to get into the spicy themes. Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Hold on.
I think it's the last paragraph on page 95
Yeah.
that is safe.
Maybe where it says alas gasp? Maybe?
Nope. Hold on.
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Hold on.
Nope.
I got it.
The word erupted is in that, so no.
We're gonna
Well,
fade. We're gonna fade back from black. I was gone, numb, dead, never again to be the man I was before. It seemed like the void lasted far too long. Was I still breathing? Would I ever awaken? But the process failed from my struggles, and now I was exiled to permanent darkness. And then, seemingly from nowhere, a tiny voice surfaced from that endless sea of nothing.
wake up, Jamie. Time for another day.
This has been Chapter 6. The Fame Has Its Price by the Vampire Jack Townson.
Unfortunately,
that
half of
is
it is smut.
Too spicy for Twitch. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook. You'll be able to find links to our podcast, to our YouTube, to our Twitch, and all of our individual projects. And for this episode of the Idiot Book Nook, my name's Blaze.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And I'm Kittershy.
And we'll see you guys next episode.